You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I took note of the report of SRSG, which provides a detailed summary of political developments in Kosovo, despite some controversial and biased elements that do not accurately reflect events on the ground. I will keep my remarks brief, as I understand that this Council has other, more urgent matters and crises to address. The Republic of Kosovo continues to thrive as a stable democracy with functioning institutions, consistent economic growth, professional police and security forces, and conforms to the highest standards of human rights and community rights, which are guaranteed by the Constitution, while demonstrating resilience against external challenges and ever-expanding global crises. Since our last debate, we held fair and democratic elections at both the local and national levels, once again showing that Kosovo has built democratic and independent institutions capable of maintaining stability and upholding liberal standards. The newly formed government will continue its ambitious reform program to make Kosovo more prosperous, secure, and integrated with the wider world. However, Belgrade has continued playing a disruptive role by attempting to interfere in elections and trying to impose the Belgrade-backed Serbian list on the local Serb community in Kosovo, aiming to mirror Serbian authoritarian and one-party rule. Thanks to our determination and our partners' support, we have successfully prevented such foreign interference and preserved the integrity of our democratic institutions. Mr. President, we are a peace-loving nation and have never interfered in other states' internal affairs. Despite Serbia's aggression and continuous hybrid threats against our institutions and society, Kosovo remains ready to normalize interstate and neighborly relations. However, the obstacle to peace and normalization of relations remains Serbia, which is neither interested in normalizing relations with Kosovo nor joining the EU. They are trying to deny our region the much-needed stability, prosperity, and full integration into the Euro-Atlantic structures. We call on Serbia to come to terms with reality and recognize Kosovo as a sovereign and independent state, and end holding its society and entire region hostage to aspirations of regaining regional hegemonism. While UNMIK's report accurately recognizes Kosovo's efforts to normalize relations with Serbia, it overlooks, however, the stabilizing effect of our constructive minority integration efforts in the north part of Kosovo. The effective functioning of a society relies on social cohesion and integration within a shared legal and political framework. This is a framework that many of you here in UN Security Council operate within when it comes to minority protection. Our efforts in north part of Kosovo to provide security and address threats are aimed at ensuring a safe and stable environment for all citizens of Kosovo, regardless of their ethnic background, so that our citizens can live in peace and free from pressure by Serbian illegal structures. It is in this spirit that we have undertaken measures to integrate and harmonize municipal health, education, and other public services in Serb-populated areas with those of the government of Kosovo. Mr. President, Kosovo has one of the most advanced minority protection frameworks in Europe. Our concerns remain, however, that Serbia and other malign actors continue to weaponize minority rights and exploit the multi-ethnic character of Kosovo to promote division, disorder, and undermine our democratic institutions and peaceful coexistence. The report only briefly mentions the discovery of illegal weapons in this part of Kosovo, but does not adequately assess the constructive efforts and proportionate measures taken by the Kosovo police and our governmental institutions to preserve peace and normality in this part of the country. Similarly, the UNMIK report highlights several isolated and local incidents which are currently being investigated by Kosovo's professional police, but fails to mention Belgrade's hybrid threats to obstruct peace and hinder integration of the Serb community. In particular, the report insufficiently covers the case of the armed and terrorist attacks in Banjska in September 2023, which remains a great concern for us. The Republic of Kosovo, like the EU and NATO, has continuously called for the establishment of accountability over the past 3 years. Belgrade has ordered, trained, and now protects the main perpetrators of this terrorism and aggression, including Milan Radojcic, who at the time of the attacks was vice president of the Belgrade-backed Serbian list in Kosovo. We cannot trust Serbia, and we cannot expect to normalize relations without clear accountability and assurances of non-aggression. Equally, had the UNMIK report been more balanced and accurate, it would have reported on developments in the region, particularly Serbian authoritarian and destructive approach, which is evident through increased armament, military escalation rhetoric, disinformation campaign, and the administrative ethnic cleansing of Albanians in these 3 municipalities, in Preševa, in Bujanovc, and in Medveđa. Mr. President, despite these challenges, Kosovo was recognized last year, so in 2025, by other 4 United Nations members. And these are Kenya, Sudan, Syria, and Bahamas. And we look forward to establishing and strengthening diplomatic and political relations. We are grateful to all 121 United Nations member states that have formally recognized independence and statehood of the Republic of Kosovo. I call on the remaining UN member states without further delay to recognize Kosovo as an independent and sovereign state and open pathways for new friendships and cooperation for mutual benefit. The key to peace and stability in the Balkans remains recognition of Kosovo by all EU and NATO member states. Dear Presidents, regarding the rule of law and human rights, the UNMIK report, I think, does not sufficiently cover the Kosovo's government efforts to combat corruption and only briefly mentions our efforts to promote transitional justice and deliver justice to victims through war crimes trials. However, the inclusion of an extensive annex on the Kosovo Specialist Chambers and the Specialist Prosecutor's Office constitutes a mischaracterization of their legal nature and an overextension of UNMIK's reporting authority. The specialist chambers are not a creation of Resolution 1244. They were not established by the Council, do not derive authority from it, and do not fall within UNMIC's mandate. The specialist chambers were established through a constitutional amendment adopted by the Parliament of Kosovo. Their legal foundation derives from a bilateral exchange of letters between Kosovo and the European Union. They are a product of Kosovo's sovereign legal order, created through democratic legislative processes and supported through partnership with the European Union. The specialist chambers should report to the Parliament of Kosovo. Likewise, the presence of EULEX is based on agreements with Kosovan institutions and must be understood within that framework. Ongoing efforts to present Kosovo institutions within a status neutral or UN-derived framework are unacceptable. Mr. President, let me conclude by sharing our long-standing view, shared also by many Council members here, that UNMIC's mandate is completed and that United Nations resources and staff would be better used elsewhere to address other pressing crises and conflicts. Kosovo is now an independent, sovereign and democratic state that has achieved normalcy and functionality, a sufficient benchmark for UNMIC to exist. As demonstrated by our recent involvement with the Board of Peace, which was established by President Trump and other partners, Kosovo is ready to contribute to peace and stability also in other parts of the world, such as the International Stabilization Force for Gaza, which was mandated by this Council Resolution 2803 last November. The focus should not be on having the United Nations in Kosovo through UNMIC, but on admitting Kosovo into the United Nations. We believe that UNMIC should be transformed into an office that would facilitate Kosovo's full membership in the UN and its agencies, programs, and treaty bodies. This would be a more sustainable way to use United Nations sources rather than attempting to establish a role where none exists. I thank you all.
I thank Mr. Konjufca for his statement. I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statement. I give the floor to the representative of Colombia.
Mr. President, I thank the Special Representative